Ben, we're taxed far too much in this country. Everything we do is taxed. We're taxed five, six times on certain purchases because everyone's taking their little bit of tax to send to the government. And if we cut the size of the government, we'll need less taxes. But then we need to be doing more things for ourselves, for our families, for our communities. We need to be paying less tax.
Absolutely. And we've touched on this as well, that how tax has damaged the incentive to work and therefore, potentiated the number of people on welfare. Because if you get taxed to the hilt, if you're earning not much money and that which you do earn is massively taxed, why would you work? What's the damn point? You can never get out of the hole in which you're in. And median wages in this country have hardly risen. I have sympathy with people kicking back and saying we're going on strike. I've got sympathy with people because the system isn't rewarding them. It doesn't make any sense. I've got a daughter-in-law who just qualified as a doctor. Do you know what her starting salary is? £22,000 per annum. Absolute madness.
And it's took us 7 years to get to that.
7 years to get to that position. And so we're a country that's literally imploding. And contrary to what the government says is unfunded tax cuts will go bust. We can't reduce taxes. Um, in the same breath, they will spend billions and billions on things which are completely wasted. So, for example, there are 1.5 million foreigners in this country getting benefits. That's 10 billion a year, roughly, that we spend on foreigners' benefits, not even our own people, and obviously the illegal migrants and so on being in hotels, etc., etc. So they've got no problem with spending. They've got a real problem with cutting taxes and having unfunded tax cuts. But actually, we're so highly taxed now that the only way to actually we're talking about the economy now really broadly, but the only way to get the economy firing again is to take a leap of faith, slash taxes, and slash the size of the state. They go hand in hand. But the beast doesn't want to take the pain. And so the beast wants to go on taxing us. I mean, it's remarkable. Rachel Reeves, when she became Chancellor, said they'd inherited a £22 billion black hole. Do you remember? I mean, actually, the black hole's much, much bigger than that. But anyway, she said 22 billion. And then in her first budget in October last year, she said she has to raise national insurance on employers because it was the only way to fund the black hole. And she said she would raise about £37 billion by raising national insurance on employers. What she didn't tell you, or what was hidden away even by the commentariat, was that there was an increase in spending commitments by £70 billion a year in that same budget. And of course, she hasn't raised the 37 billion a year that she thought she would through employers NI because employers have stopped employing. They don't want to take on the burden of employees because it's too expensive. What can an employer do? You either raise your prices, you can't do that if the economy is not strong, or you sack people to make up for the extra burden of tax. And effectively, that's what's happened. Sack people and don't hire. And so we're seeing this downward spiral. And again, it comes from government being too big, government not doing the right thing for the people, wanting to tax us so that it can keep itself going, not thinking through this properly. And whatever people say about Liz Truss, she had absolutely the right idea. Cut the taxes. And the other thing I'll just quickly say is that cutting taxes is one way to get the economy going and a necessary component. The other way to do it is to cut regulations. We have become a seriously highly regulated country. Now, regulations don't produce tax revenue for the government, and they don't allow businesses to make profits either, because every regulation you have burdens a business from a cost perspective. If I need to put a particular disclaimer on a bottle because that's a legal requirement, it costs me money to print that and stamp it and put it on a bottle, etc. What we should be doing is jettisoning regulations, getting rid of them. The top one being net zero. We're literally sacrificing, by the Treasury's own estimates, £50 billion a year of tax take in order to deliver net zero, which is an arbitrary deadline set by human beings who've got no real idea of what the weather's or climate's going to be like in 2050. And, in any event, the United Kingdom only produces less than 1% of the global carbon emissions. Whatever we do here for net zero is not going to save the planet. And we're literally killing the economy on the back of that regulatory altar. And then, of course, there's lots of other regulations that go with it. I mean, my business can hardly move without filling out, thick forms, this big for the London Stock Exchange or the Financial Conduct Authority. And then the other form of regulation, I think it is worth touching on this because it's all part of the same thing, is progressive discrimination, DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is now part of the social obligations of companies, businesses, institutions, armed forces, public services, right across the United Kingdom. And basically what it's telling us is to forget about meritocracy, don't employ the best people, but just make sure you've got the right ethnic balance. Now, if you're going to employ people based on the color of their skin, you're not going to get your organizations motoring, are you? You need to get the right people in the right jobs. So we've got the burden on the country is created through mass regulations, massive taxation, ridiculous ideologies like DEI, the promotion of ethnic minorities to the detriment of the majority, and the detriment of our economy. And again, sorry to labor the point, Nick, but it all comes back to a disconnect between government and what its obligation is. It's lost sight of what its obligations are. So the net zero thing, that is an example of a globally determined policy. We're killing the British economy for some global benefit, some intangible global benefit. And this literally is a global policy because it was dreamt up by a bunch of nations at the Paris Accord. It wasn't dreamt up domestically.